Platonism is a philosophical doctrine that originated with the Greek philosopher Plato. Here are the key aspects of Platonism. Theory of forms. Plato proposed that the material world is a shadow of a higher reality consisting of abstract, perfect forms or ideas. These forms are eternal, unchanging, and represent the true essence of things. For example, the form beauty itself is more real than any particular beautiful object. Dualism. Platonism emphasizes a dualistic view of reality. There's a distinction between the physical world, which is impermanent and subject to change, and the world of forms, which is eternal and unchanging. Epistemology. Plato believed that knowledge is innate and can be recollected through reason and philosophical inquiry. He argued that true knowledge, as opposed to mere opinion, is knowledge of the forms, which can only be apprehended by the intellect. Ethics and politics. Plato's ethical views are closely tied to his metaphysics. In his political philosophy, outlined in works like The Republic, he proposed a society governed by philosopher kings who have knowledge of the forms and can therefore create a just and harmonious society. Philosopher kings. Plato's notion of philosopher kings is one of the most enduring and thought-provoking ideas. Wise and virtuous individuals who possess both a profound love of wisdom and the knowledge necessary to govern justly. The concept arises from Plato's belief in the theory of forms. Among these forms, the form of the good is the highest and most important, akin to the sun in the allegory of the cave, illuminating and giving life to all other forms. Plato argues that only those who have true knowledge of the form of the good can make decisions that are genuinely just and beneficial for the society. Philosopher kings are those who have ascended beyond the shadows of ignorance to comprehend these higher truths. They are characterized by their wisdom, rationality, and a deep commitment to the common good. Unlike typical rulers who might be driven by personal ambition, wealth, or power, philosopher kings rule selflessly, their actions guided by an understanding of what is truly best for their citizens. To ensure that such rulers emerge, Plato outlines an extensive and rigorous educational process. This education begins in childhood and spans several decades, incorporating physical training, music, mathematics, and ultimately the study of philosophy. Through dialectic, a method of disciplined questioning and reasoning, these potential rulers develop their ability to grasp the forms, especially the form of the good. Plato's educational regime is designed to be highly selective, ensuring that only the most capable individuals ascend to the role of philosopher king. These individuals must demonstrate exceptional intellectual and moral virtues, including courage, moderation, and justice. They're trained to transcend personal desires and ambitions, focusing instead on the welfare of the state. In governance, philosopher kings apply their wisdom to create laws and policies that foster justice, harmony, and the well-being of all citizens. Plato believed that only those who understood the form of the good can perceive the true nature of justice and make decisions that reflect this understanding. Therefore, philosopher kings are uniquely equipped to create a just society. He famously asserts that society will not achieve true justice until philosophers become kings or kings become true philosophers. This statement underscores the tension between the ideal and the practical in political life, highlighting the gap between what is and what ought to be. The idea of philosopher kings has had a lasting impact on political philosophy, challenging subsequent thinkers to consider their qualifications and moral integrity. While the notion of philosopher kings remains an ideal, it continues to inspire debates about the nature of wisdom, justice, and the best forms of governance. Plato's philosopher kings represent the pursuit of a higher, more enlightened form of rule, one that prioritizes the common good over personal gain. I remember when I first started reading Plato early on in my philosophy exploration, I was always fascinated with philosopher kings. Philosopher kings is kind of like, it's something that fascinates you when you first start studying philosophy, because you sort of in your newly found pursuit are kind of arrogant. You know, you begin using big words when you talk and you become pretentious. I mean, pretty much I think people can't really avoid it because you're excited about this new thing that you're learning. And during that phase of being excited about philosophy, you know, typically people study the classics and you'll become enamored with the notion of philosopher kings. And it's actually a great idea that Plato comes up with. And it's beautiful, honestly, because in a sense, we still think the same way. We think of meritocracy and we think that people should be, well trained to be leaders, not just elected because they can gain a popularity of the common people just by appealing to their base instincts, but also have the knowledge that a ruler would need to make complex decisions in a prudent way. And sometimes this is forgotten about because a lot of people don't think about prudential planning, because they're not prudential planners themselves. They don't deal in planning. They don't deal in coming up with contingencies and weighting the contingencies and being prepared for all outcomes. And they don't deal in thinking about everybody whenever you do something. How's that going to affect every part of the group of people that you're leading? They just kind of think about only their group. And so that type of thinking is not good for a leader. And that's, what Plato is talking about precluding ultimately with philosopher kings, is that they would be trained to be leaders, fair, just, moral, right. They would understand the form of the good, which is basically just ethics, understanding what's good. And today, we study ethics. I study ethics, and ethics are very important. And a person that has compromised ethics should never become the leader, because they can't be the leader of the people that they don't necessarily agree with, the people that they're biased against. They can't be the leader for those people. Therefore, they can't be the leader of a state. They can really only pretend to be the leader of a state, and by leading only their people. And so we don't need that. What Plato says still stands, and it's actually a beautiful notion. And philosopher kings are an important part of philosophy. And I actually still believe that we need educated, meritorious leaders, and an understanding of ethics is so important. So philosophy kings, we still need them to lead us, and we still meritocracy and philosophy and ethics are still the most important, and the good and being selfless is still the most important, and will always be the most important aspects of human ethics. If you like this kind of philosophical subject matter, help us grow the channel by liking the video and subscribing to the channel.